mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies, and sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
Good morning, movie friends, and welcome back to the Court of Cinema podcast. I'm your host, Logan. Here we talk about everything film and TV, and in today's episode, we're going to be going into another news episode. We're going to be talking about some movie news. A couple of little things came out this week that I really wanted to chat about a little bit here. One of them actually dropped less than 24 hours ago. We just got some news here about Scarlett Johansson and also her being in The Batman Part 2. And also we have some bigger news. The bigger chunk of this episode will be about our main man here, Quentin Tarantino versus Paul Dano. And before I get into any of that, I should probably just say thank you for listening to the show, for being a part of this show. You keep this show alive just by being a faithful listener. You keep the fridge full, you keep the lights on, you keep this entire show running, and I truly, truly thank you so much for that. And if you're new here, then thank you and welcome to the show. So our first story here today is coming to us with some brand new news for The Batman Part 2, the long-awaited sequel to The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson. And we have here that Scarlett Johansson is apparently in talks to join The Batman Part 2. This comes to us straight from Deadline here. And reading here from the article, I have all this stuff linked down below in the show notes as well. And in our article here from Deadline, we do have that while it is unknown where things stand in the deal-making process, sources tell Deadline that the Oscar-nominated Johansson is in final negotiations with the studio and director Matt Reeves for one of the new roles in The Batman Part 2. If a deal closes, she will join Robert Pattinson as the Caped Crusader in the upcoming sequel to the Reeves film that he's writing and directing. Now, who is Scarlett Johansson supposed to be playing? We don't know at this point in time. Is she playing Catwoman? Is she replacing Zoe Kravitz? That is, I don't think, true. We do know already at this point that Zoe Kravitz is not returning as Catwoman. I think that most likely Catwoman won't be returning in this new Batman movie, Scarlett Johansson is going to be joining us in a new role. That's just something that's been, kind of controversial. I really just want to clarify. I don't think that's going to be the case where Scarlett Johansson comes in and takes on the role as Catwoman. I don't think so. I feel like you wouldn't replace Zoe Kravitz with Scarlett Johansson as Catwoman, but we'll have to see. I mean, I might be completely wrong. We'll see here in the next few, the 6, 12 months, whatever. We'll see who she'll be in the cast. And, right now it is currently in talks. Usually when we get some news that an actor is in talks for a role, that tells us that it's, essentially almost done and almost final, that it'll be in the actual movie. So not official yet, but really at this point, it's getting very close to be official that she'll be in the film. And now a bigger question, I guess, as I go into my theories, who will Scarlett Johansson be playing in this new Batman movie? It's not confirmed yet, but there are some theories. The biggest one that I thought of first was just Poison Ivy. That's a pretty good casting. I'm not sure if they would do Poison Ivy, though, in a Batman movie. I mean, this Batman movie, it's showing it's going to be more grounded. I don't feel like they would do a Poison Ivy in this universe. Talia al Ghul could be one as well. That would work. Harley Quinn, she could be Harley Quinn. I mean, we already have Joker from Barry Keoghan, and maybe they could do Harley Quinn. I really don't see anyone else besides Margot Robbie being Harley Quinn, but Scarlett Johansson would be really good. I mean, she's a Academy Award nominated actress. She knows how to act in movies. I think she would be really good in that. Another one, maybe, I've been hearing Andrea Beaumont. If you know the Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Andrea Beaumont, she's a love interest for Bruce Wayne. And then she ends up being the bad guy in that Mask of the Phantasm movie. That movie came out in the 90s, so if you haven't seen it, that's really your problem. It's a theory. If they decide to do a live-action Mask of the Phantasm, I wouldn't be mad. That would be super cool. It'd be great seeing that in live action. Will it happen? I'm not quite sure just yet, but we'll have to see. Another theory would definitely be if they decided to go ahead and do a Mr. Freeze kind of story. I think that's his name. I know there's Mr. Freeze and Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze is the Batman villain. I'm about like 95% sure. I'm going to research it. I'm right. Okay, so, right, I just had to fact check myself here. So Mr. Freeze is a Batman villain. If they decided to go down the Mr. Freeze route, then you can do the Mr. Freeze's wife. If you want to do Scarlett Johansson in that role, you can maybe do that. We'll have to see. I mean, there's really a long list of female characters associated with Batman that you can go down a route with. If they want to maybe make a complete new character and then do Scarlett Johansson as Batwoman, they can do that. I wouldn't really support it, but, if they wanted to, then they can. There's really 1,000 different possible answers. She can be a random member of the mob. Who knows? Really, who knows? It's very early on right now. Batman Part 2 isn't coming out till 2027, I think October or November-ish. That's for right now. This film's gotten delayed multiple times, but we'll have to see here in the next couple of years what's going to be happening. But yeah, Scarlett Johansson coming into the Batman Part 2. Who will she play? We have a little thing down there below. Comment and let me know, what are your theories? There's a very long list, but I want to know, what are you guys thinking right now of this casting? Who will she play? Who should she play? I'm open to anything, so let me know down below there in the comments. And then our second story here, second and final one here for today, is we have some news here. So it was also, I think, deadline to hear that Quentin Tarantino, he gave away his, I think it was like top 10 favorite films of the century, which is, cool. Quentin Tarantino, he's one of the greatest directors of our time. He's truly awesome and incredible. And yeah, he's super cool. He's really great. And I'm really always open to all ears in terms of what he has to say when it comes to movies. But in this ranking that he gave us, he took some shots at Paul Dano that I think a lot of people were just confused by, offended by. And, it felt kind of mean for him to say. I'm going to go through right now the list as well as the comments that were made from him. And you can let me know your thoughts on it. I'll give my thoughts on it also later in a second here. So I'm going to go through actually all 20 of his list that he has for the favorites of the decade. I'll leave this list down there below. He does also, under each movie, have a little bit of a quote. I won't be going into the quote for each and every movie just because it's going to be a lot, but still, I'll just quickly go through the other 19 movies before we get to the No Country for Old Men. So at number 20, he does have West Side Story 2021, Steven Spielberg. That is an incredible film. I definitely do support him here with that one. Our next movie we have here from Tarantino, Cabin Fever, Eli Roth. Haven't seen it myself, but still, I'll throw it on the list at this point. Number 18 is Moneyball, Bennett Miller. He talks about Brad Pitt's performance as being one of my favorite performances of the last 20 years, and the movie's really good. I mean, if you haven't seen Moneyball, definitely recommend it. Number 17 is Chocolate, which is from Prakaya Pinkyu. I definitely said the name wrong, but, we're going to keep on moving here. Number 16, he does have The Devil's Rejects from Rob Zombie. I really see that one too. I don't really watch a lot of horror films, but still, I'll definitely see that one. And number 15, we do have The Passion of the Christ, 2004, Mel Gibson. Number 14, School of Rock, Linklater. That's definitely understandable. I definitely do agree with that one as well. And then going on to number 13, Jackass the Movie, 2002, directed by Jeff Tremaine. Number 12, we do have The Big Bad Wolves 2013, which is from Aaron Kenshels and also Navut Pashudo. I'm definitely saying all these names wrong. I am so sorry, but still moving on. Number 11, Battle Royale, Kinji Fukasaku. I'm saying that name wrong too. We're going to keep on going. Number 10, Midnight in Paris from Woody Allen. Great movie, great film. I love that movie a lot. It's really, really good. I think you have Adrian Brody in there too. Also Owen Wilson. Sorry, not Woody Harrelson. Owen Wilson's in there too. Great film. Midnight in Paris. If you haven't seen it, dialogue's awesome. Cinematography, all of that around. It's really good. Number 9, Shaun of the Dead. Haven't seen it, but still, I've heard a lot of good things about it. Edgar Wright, 2004. Number 8, Mad Max Fury Road, 2015. George Miller. This film, I can speak for it. It is one of the best action films of all time. It's like Stagecoach, but in modern day. Really great film. Number 7, Unstoppable, 2010, Tony Scott. Number 6 here, Zodiac, Fincher. Understandable. That movie is also good. Also, I didn't really mention it, but yeah, Unstoppable with Denzel and also Chris Pine. Underrated. Solid, great action movie. That movie is really, really cool. Really great. And then moving on here is into our number 5, which is the movie that we're really here to talk about, where all this main story is coming here for us, which is There Will Be Blood, 2007 from PTA. A great film. I haven't seen it in a while, but still, it's definitely a really, really good film. And now going into his comments about this movie, which is where everything is brought up here. If he didn't say anything at all, we wouldn't be talking about it, but still, what Tarantino had to say about this movie. So, he said that Daniel Day-Lewis, the old-style craftsmanship quality of the film, it had an old Hollywood craftsmanship without trying to be like that, which I definitely do agree. He says that it was the only film he's ever done, and I brought it up to him, that doesn't have a set piece. The fire is the closest to a set piece. This was about dealing with the narrative, dealing with the story, and he did a effing amazingly job here. There Will Be Blood would stand a good chance of being at number 1 or number 2 if it didn't have a big, giant flaw in it. And this is where the comments come into play, where Tarantino doesn't really like to, be a, smartest guy in the room at all times here. He said that the flaw is Paul Dano. Obviously, it's supposed to be a two-hander film, but it's so drastically obviously that it's not a two-hander. Dano is weak sauce, man. He is the weak sister. Austin Butler would have been wonderful in that role. He's just a weak, uninteresting guy. The weakest effing actor in SAG, and he laughs there at the end of that quote, which, that feels harsh. It feels extremely personal. I have some more quotes here from the same exact tangent of him just going on about Paul Dano, continuously pressing on about him just being weak and an uninteresting guy. And even continuing on with these quotes, he just continues to go on further about Dano being a bad actor, saying, so you put him with the weakest male actor in SAG, the limpest dick in the world? I mean, this, like I said, it starts to feel like there's an underlying objective here, or like something that we don't know about these two that may have happened privately in a private conversation or a private moment that's now maybe coming to light. And he later goes on to say even further that I'm not saying he's giving a terrible performance he had moments later. I'm saying that he's giving a non-entity performance. I don't care for him. I don't care for Owen Wilson. I don't care for Matthew Lillard either. I'm not sure where Owen Wilson or Matthew Lillard just had to catch random strays, but, still, I guess they're also bad in his eyes too. But still, I guess a quick little pause here from this ranking. That feels harsh. It feels harsh and weird to say. Number one, I should just say that everyone has a right to their own opinion. Films are subjective. You don't have to like every movie. You don't have to like every actor. And still, in that sense, I don't have to agree with all of your opinions just because we're different. But still, it feels weird for him to go on like this and say what he's saying here in these quotes. It feels odd in a way, mainly because, he is Tarantino, someone with such influence that he would go on and say things like this. It feels weird. It feels weird and just feels off for him to say that. And now the internet is just coming on to him saying that he's just a wash director, that he doesn't know how to make good movies, which is kind of crazy, but still, this is weird for me. It's weird for him to come on and say this, but still, it's his opinion. He has rights to an opinion. It's his First Amendment right, freedom of speech. He can say whatever he wants. That's our right as Americans, as humans. And he can do whatever he wants as well. So, you know what? Whatever. I try not to care anymore about stuff like this, but still, it's been a very massive trending thing. So I wanted to give some thoughts on this a little bit. This is giving the same energy like when, what was his name? Sorry, I forgot Scorsese's name. That's crazy. But still, when Martin Scorsese, he came out and he talked about Marvel films as being theme park rides. They're not real cinema. They're amusement park rides. They're not real films. They're not bad movies, but still, he said they're not real cinema, which definitely got him in a lot of trouble for that. But still, I've grown to understand what he was saying and think that that is a fair opinion to have. There's still a lot of incredible comic book films, but, to say that they're more like a different kind of cinema, they're a different kind of film to where it's almost like a theme park ride, understandable. I would agree to a degree. I would agree to a sense, but still, I definitely understand where he was going with that. This feels like the same thing, but I think with Tarantino, that felt a little more logical. This feels personal. It feels like a personal jab. It doesn't feel like it's just me saying that, a random actor is bad. It's not like me saying, what's that one actress name? Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot's a bad actress. That's just one thing. If he said Paul Dano isn't the best and stop there, to go on and say that he's the weakest dick in SAG, say that he's the weakest actor in SAG and a terrible actor, absolute weak sauce, it feels weird. It feels off to put someone down to that level, especially if you're someone like Tarantino. You know that with your name and with your voice, you'll have some influence there. To go on that far, to have that level of influence in the film industry, to say what you said, it feels weird. It feels weird. It feels just off to do something like that. And, I know he doesn't care. I know that Tarantino does this a lot where he just says things and doesn't really care about it. He makes some controversial decisions, doesn't really care about what anyone says either, which is just him. That's Tarantino's personality, but still, I feel like people are starting to just get kind of tired of it. Like, I remember when he had Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he said, I don't care what anyone else says. I mean, he says he cares about what Bruce Lee's daughter thinks, but if you're not Bruce Lee's daughter, I don't care what you have to say about it. Which, still, his opinion, that's just Tarantino. But, it feels weird. It feels off. It feels annoying. And definitely, I feel like people, the audience, the society, the world, we're starting to get tired. Or, not me, but sorry, people may be starting to get a little tired with Tarantino's antics, to where it's definitely tarnishing his brand and tarnishing his image, especially coming from him, someone who hasn't made a film in 5+ years now, who's been on this massive thing about his last movie being his last movie, needing it to be the biggest thing ever. And instead of working towards making a great piece of art, he's over here talking about Paul Dano being a really bad actor and slandering his name, which feels right now unprovoked. But maybe I feel like maybe Paul Dano did something to make Tarantino this mad. I love Paul Dano, but maybe Paul Dano's in the wrong here for some random unknown reason. And I love Paul Dano. I don't see anything wrong with him to where these thoughts and these comments are provoked, but still, there may have been some kind of silence behind closed doors conversation that maybe the rage bait for Tarantino went to his head and he just has never let it go. That's possible. It's very possible. But, still, I'll leave these quotes down below, but that's just my thing here with this one. But, yeah, so just continue on with Tarantino's ranking for the best films of the century. Number 5, There Will Be Blood. Number 4, Dunkirk from Nolan. And also number 3, Lost in Translation. And also number 2, Toy Story 3. And number 1, we have the great, the wonderful, the incredible film, which is Black Hawk Down from Ridley Scott. I love a lot of these films. Black Hawk Down, Toy Story 3, Lost in Translation, Dunkirk, There Will Be Blood, all great films. And I love Tarantino. I love him a lot. And I think for me to love Tarantino, I'm not surprised by these comments. That's just Tarantino being Tarantino. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. Like, that's why he put Bruce Lee in his movie. Doesn't care about what the hardcore Bruce Lee fans think. He wrote himself inside of a movie and wrote his character to say the N-word. He doesn't care about what other people think about him. He doesn't care. He does what he wants to do. He does what he does. He has this rock star mantra that he wants to live by, and he couldn't care less what you think about him. That's why he talks bad about Paul Dano. That's why he wrote himself in a movie to say the N-word. That's why he does what he wants to do. That's why we really love him as a director. He's bold. He's different. He takes chances. He doesn't care if you don't understand the ending. He doesn't care. That's who Tarantino is, and that's why he's so Tarantino. That's why the Tarantino vibe and the effects and the, punchiness of his movies are so awesome, because Tarantino has some swag to him. He has that swagger to him that makes him be able to say these comments about Paul Dano, and really, I'm not mad. It's kind of weird, it's kind of offensive, but still, that's Tarantino. That's who Tarantino is, and I'm not really too upset by it. So I think that'll just about wrap it for today's episode. Not really too much to say. I feel like news has been a little slow recently. We're going to be going into some super crazy big films here. Avatar, Way of Water. Also with our new Marge Supreme movie coming out pretty soon. Oscar season's coming up. There's a lot of great films out right now that I really want to talk about. So still, I'm going to leave these links for these stories down below. But a quick recap. Number 1, Scarlett Johansson in the Batman 2. And then number 2, Tarantino doesn't like Paul Dano, but I'm not that surprised by it. It's Tarantino. He doesn't like anyone or anything. He's Tarantino. He can be Tarantino. that's who Tarantino is. So, not that mad by it. I don't really care about it. But still, let me know your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on Scarlett Johansson and Tarantino? This Tarantino news is kind of weird, but whatever. We have a little fan mail thing down there below. Also, if you're on YouTube, you can comment. Also, if you're on Spotify, you can comment down there as well. But until next time, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more films. And until next time, I'm Real Slogan. I'll see you boys in the movies.